Do you know someone that when faced with conflict, they get very argumentative, defensive, always want to have the last say or always want to be right? Or maybe you know someone when faced with conflict, them try to avoid it at all costs. Maybe them run away from the situation or them get quiet or just shut down completely. If the answer is yes to any of the above, then this video might be helpful to you. Today we'll discuss trauma, the responses, and how to identify them. Fight, flight, and freeze. You might ask, what is trauma? Trauma is an emotional response to extreme or terrible event. Most of us, if not all, have been exposed to trauma since childhood, and some have been exposed more than others. There have been studies done called ACEs. You guys can do the research. Adverse childhood experiences studies. If you have experienced physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, physical or emotional neglect, raised by a parent or a sibling that has mental illness, deal with parent separation, divorce, or domestic violence, substance abuse, incarceration, or extreme military experiences. These are all events that, when exposed to, can contribute to trauma. A funny fact, the brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's perceived. And I'll leave an abbreviation with you guys on how to think of the word fear. False evidence appearing real. When faced with extreme events, our brain first reaction is to go to survival mode. This is where fight, flight, or freeze come in place. Fight. That person who always want to be right, always want to have the last say, or get very defensive, is the brain response to trauma. Now, you guys can find someone in your life, or you maybe, and think about that reaction. Flight, the person who runs when conflict come around, change their number, or even move after a conflict or a major event, can be sign of the flight trauma response. Freeze, that person who completely freeze or shut down, go numb when faced with conflict, are signs of the freeze response. Now for closure, understanding that trauma is a very serious issue that we all deal with, whether direct or indirectly. Our brain first response to trauma will always be the natural response, which is fight, flight, or freeze. Identifying these triggers and how we respond is very important, and it can help our personal, professional, and overall development. My personal opinion is that trauma should be definitely a topic to discuss with friends, loved one, and maybe even potential spouse or partner. Now, if you find value in this content, my ask is please like, share, subscribe, or comment. Let us know what your trauma response is, whether fight, flight, or freeze, or what exposure have you been exposed to, whether direct or indirectly. Is it emotional, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, physical neglect, any of the ones that we listed above? Please again, like, share, subscribe, or leave a comment. Thanks for taking the time out. Hope someone find value into this video.